Welcome everyone to Legion Gaming. I'm your host Donnie, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Deucy.
Hello everyone.
Deucy, how are you this afternoon?
Well, I am excited because, for the last couple episodes we did Metroid, then we gave a Metroid 2. So finally, we are going to do Super Wrestlemania.
I liked how you let in there. I was waiting for it. I paused. I was like, where's he going? Where we're going? And there we are. Yes. So we're doing a special episode today. We're we're titling this the episode The Immortals.
Yes.
Wrestlemania Mania, because it is WrestleMania season. And Deuce and I are, pro wrestling fans. We have been, I've been since I was like 4 years old. It's been a very long time.
I got in at the Attitude Era, and then I dropped off, and then I got back into it thanks to our buddy Mike.
Yeah, exactly. I dropped off for a while too, like a long time.
Yeah.
And it's only been over the last few years where I've been watching the highlights and watching the pay-per-views pretty regularly and everything.
And we always catch WrestleMania now.
Yeah, it's a really fun time. So we thought it'd be perfectly appropriate that we go through basically all the WrestleMania games, really. Like anything that really featured WrestleMania in the title, we're going to feature today because we want to talk WrestleMania and wrestling, and there's no better way than to go through all the games that I thought were pretty fun at the time.
Yeah, they're at time of release, they're coming up on the 40th.
Yeah, which is unbelievable. 40 years of WrestleMania. But before we get to our actual main events, Deucy, what have you been playing lately?
I have kept it down to 2 games and 2 games only, surprisingly. Definitely still getting into Spider-Man 2.
I figured you were going to be deep diving into that one because it makes sense.
Oh, actually, 3 games, but I've only played Helldivers 2 once with you and Vito.
Yeah, we need to get you more on there.
I really want to get back into it, but time and life gets in the way.
It's a nightmare. It's always like, when is everyone free? Oh, God.
Yeah. But Spider-Man 2 is always easy to just pick up and play. It tells me I'm about 67 to 68% complete, but I'm not sure what that entails, if that's just the story mode, because I've done a lot of the side stuff too. It's so natural to just like all of a sudden all of the pictures are taken and all of the Mysterio things are done. I was like, when did that happen?
Yeah, one of the big reasons why I like both Spider-Man games is that there's just enough collectibles where it doesn't feel too annoying.
Yeah.
And a lot of them you'll probably find while you're just traversing anyway, because for me, like, I barely use fast travel in Spider-Man 2 ever.
Oh, yeah.
It's instantaneous. Like, you could point in any part of the map and you're there instantly, but it's like, it's so fun to swing around and, use the wings that I didn't need it, and you just would naturally find collectibles.
There was one time where the next big chunk of story was about, according to the map, it was 3,000 meters away.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
I'm just going to
go right on
that's
through.
basically from one end of the map to the other, but I'll still swing it.
Yeah, and then you find all the distractions, like the little chests with the
the parts, the tech parts
and everything. And I went through. I thought there was a trophy to get all, like, every single chest. So I was cleaning up, and I looked. I was like, oh, there isn't a trophy for this. Thank God, because I didn't even know how I would find the ones that was missing.
Yeah, because they don't show up on your main map. They only show up on your little radar map.
Exactly. So I was going through all that. I was like, how am I going to find all these? And
well,
thankfully I didn't.
Just uncovering the map. You know how it's dark at first, and then as you go through it, it lightens up. I was doing sort of a search mode. I was just zigzagging back and forth through each area just to highlight the rest of the map and open it up. And that's when more stuff pops up that you didn't even know was going to be in the area.
Yeah, see, and that's I'd say that's a good testament to how great the game is, where we're monotonous. We're taking the monotonous action of scrolling through, zigzagging part of the map to find stuff. These little trivial collectibles that are just there, and they're fun to collect. It's I've been enjoying it. So 67%. I think that's collectively what you have as far as like everything from side quests and everything. But I know the story. I don't know where you're at in it, but I have a feeling you have to be getting pretty close.
So I don't know what I want to spoil, but I guess this wouldn't be too much of a spoiler if you've ever read a Spider-Man comic or watched the original cartoon or really any of the cartoons. I have the suit off now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you fought nests yet?
No, that doesn't sound familiar.
Okay, so you'll get to some nests, and I'll be curious what you'll think there, because the combat gets pretty hectic. I know you had some difficulty with some of the bosses.
Oh, yeah, that was probably my one gripe so far, is that some of these bosses, while it's awesome that the characters are in the game, I don't need 3 full rounds of fighting them. Mm-hmm. Like, you could do one, or if you're going to switch it up, like maybe Miles joins in, and so one round is Peter, one round is Miles. That would have been cool. But I don't need 3 of the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I didn't mind it so much because I thought it was okay, but I'd say it's a fair criticism of, because there's a balance between making like a long, awesome boss fight and then just kind of prolonging it by having these same sections repeat. So there is some fine line there where it's like you're getting to a point where the boss is now overstaying its welcome. It's no longer an awesome boss fight.
Because like the things that I was doing in the first couple of rounds are epic, and that's what you want from the action. Like you go from a fight to maybe a chase to maybe a fight again, like in a different location, and that's all cool. But then there's a third round, and I'm like, wait, why?
Yeah,
this does not make sense now.
I thought it was fun. Like like I said, I thought the game was reasonably challenging. I think it was too bad, but yeah, there are some parts where I think you're gonna get to it, and even you'll be like, yeah, this is a little bit long in the tooth for some of it, especially when you get to some of the nests, which you'll probably text me like, oh yeah, I know what you mean.
I see now. Yeah.
But yeah, what else you've been playing? You said you had 2 or 3 rotating out. Yeah.
The only other one that I've really been sticking to is on Switch, so I'll play it, handheld while I'm watching stuff. It's called, and I just randomly found this while I was scrolling through the store. It's called New Star GP, and it's Formula One racing in the style of virtual racing. So it's very much those graphics and everything.
Oh, so I know you actually bought it because you texted me, and I had heard about it on Steam because they're like an ad for it, but I didn't know you actually picked it up.
Oh yeah, like right away. I was thinking about it because it's still at its full price, but it's a kind of a bargain game. It's
like $30. I think it's pretty reasonable.
And so I was like, should I wait for a sale? Nah, this looks really, really good for me, at least, like a big racing fan. And so it's like virtual racing, but it's got the in-depth playability of Formula One. So you have to control your own pit stops. You have to control your repairs, and then you buy your upgrades to make your car faster. And the cool gimmick here is that like you do seasons based on the decades, and the cars, their body and their max speeds and everything match what the cars were like back in those decades.
Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know they went that far with it.
Yeah, so you play a season, and if you get the championship in like the 80s with a slower car, then you get bumped up to the 90s. And then I think even the engine noises start to change a little too, because the 80s were very like, I guess you could say meaty. And by the 90s and 2000s, they were the high-pitched like whine that everybody knows.
Efficient engines or something.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I just look forward to playing it more and more.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out because, like I said, I had it on my wish list, and I thought it hadn't been out. Like I thought it was one of those, it's coming games, and you sent me a text about it. I was like, oh, it's out. I had no idea. I guess it's been out for a couple months, which sometimes I just put stuff on my wish list and I totally forget about it. But yeah, I do want to check that out because I do love me some virtual racing. Was that the only other game you've been playing?
Yeah, I said, just those 2. I'm surprised with myself.
I guess so. I've been kind of in the same boat. I guess I've been rotating through a couple, but still going through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm a solid 30 plus hours in, and I think I'm about halfway through the game at this point. Because again, I've been doing all the side stuff and like collecting everything. And one of the things is you can unlock more summons in the game if you fight the summon in the combat simulator.
Oh yeah,
and they're really, really difficult. But the cool thing is in the open world, if you find like these basically like lore stones for the summons, it weakens them because you're kind of like finding out knowledge about them and their history. So if you find enough of them, which is usually like 3 or 4, you can weaken it so that you can, have a better time with the combat simulator. So I've been doing like just monotonous stuff like that. I'm just like picking up every little thing, doing every little mini game. It's great to just be able to get lost in a game like that where, the story is still there and it's really good, but I can also get distracted and not feel like I'm going nowhere or, it's just kind of monotonous at that point.
Yeah.
So I've been really enjoying that, which I fully expected. The combat is just amazing. I love the boss fights. It's a freaking great time. I've been milking my time with it. I don't know when I'm going to get it done, but 30 hours, I'm halfway through the game. It's a pretty freaking long game for what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's going to be rough because, I've got a lot of catching up to do now that I have the PS5. And after Spider-Man, I want to get into that Rise of the Ronin. But I also want to try the first Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah, and that one's really good too. It's definitely a smaller scale game compared to Rebirth, but it's, you have to play it to understand what's happening in Rebirth, even to give you a little recap.
Yeah.
But even the remake's pretty beefy. That one took me a solid 35 hours. And I hadn't done everything in the game. I had done like a lot because there wasn't many side quests and you get some, whatever extraneous things. But it was a pretty solid game for 30, 35 hours. So you got that. And then you'll get on to like 60 to 80 hours for Rebirth or something, And then the other game I'm playing that I mentioned it is Rise of the Ronin, which just came out yesterday as of this recording. It's by Team Ninja, which I'll always love because they created Ninja Gaiden and the original Ninja Gaiden on Xbox and the NES games. And they've been doing these games on current gen systems and last gen where they're kind of Souls-like, but not really. Like they're still rooted in Team Ninja's, amazing combat, but they're definitely Souls-ish where it's like, you get to a certain point, like bosses are really difficult. And
you got to strategize.
Exactly. And the combat here supports it because in Rise of the Ronin, you have like this sort of parry counter system that can more or less counter and parry everything. So it makes it really fun, but also makes it really anxiety inducing because some of the enemies will juke you. So it looks like they'll slash at you, but they'll fake you out. And then you're open when you counterattack and miss. So there goes like a quarter of your health on that one missed move. And then it's also kind of like Tenchu. It reminds you a lot like Tenchu because you're basically playing a ninja and like you can go assassinate enemies. Like,
can you go stealth?
Like, yeah, you can go stealth. Like you can hide in the bushes. It's a really cool game so far. The story is pretty interesting. It's all about like this rogue clan who was sent to go assassinate an American Navy captain on they call it the Black Ship.
I read in a review his name's Matthew Perry.
It is, which made life really hard. I was like, oh, well, that's really weird. Because I guess a lot of the characters in here are from historical figures, but they're just obviously not. This isn't historically accurate. They just use some of the figures there. So it's really cool. It's like you end up on the ship, you kill Matthew Perry, and then this blue demon samurai comes, and your clan that was sent to go assassinate Matthew Perry is sort of like framed in a sense where they're sort of exiled, and now they're going rogue, which is going Ronin.
Oh,
so it's got a cool story so far. I'm only like a couple hours in, and it's pretty hard, but I like it. Like the combat is so damn fun. It's like it's a simple control scheme, but just the pairing alone makes it really exciting because like you'll see someone wind up, and then when you counter them enough times, it opens them up so you can do like a critical attack, which does like a ton of damage or instantly kills some enemies. So it's a lot of risk and reward. But it's been really, really good. I'll be really curious when you get it what you'll think because it's an open world Tenchu game. It's just it's kind of got Souls-like elements which are pretty tough.
I feel like I'm going to be doing a lot of the stealth because I won't want to try to do direct confrontations.
That's what I try to do anyway, because you can get overwhelmed pretty easy. Like last night I played a mission like early on where I was attacking one guy and I realized there was his two buddies off in the corner and they came and hoarded me. And it's like 3v1. I was like, yeah, this is not going to end well. And it did not. And then the other game that I started that I'm going to get into is Dragon's Dogma 2. I got the PC version.
Oh, I keep hearing talk of that.
It's really good so far. I've only got I only got a couple hours in because I was after that I ended up playing Helldivers with Vito and Warzone. So it's like I'll get into it for like an hour or two, and then someone's like, "You want to play Warzone?" Like, sure, whatever. It's really cool so far. There are some puzzling decisions that Capcom's getting flack for, like you can't start a new game necessarily on PC. Like once you start, like they didn't include a new game option. Like you have to go delete your save or something dumb because you have like one character, which is also a suspicious decision when it's an RPG kind of thing.
What the hell?
Yeah,
I also heard there's no fast travel.
So it's weird. I guess you can get an item that does fast travel, but really the uproar right now is Capcom does this microtransaction crap that is like for single player stuff. It's not like required, and they've done it before, and people act like it's a new thing. They did Devil May Cry 5. They did it with I think Street Fighter 6 maybe, and a couple other Capcom games where it's like a booster. You pay to get like orbs in Devil May Cry, and then here you can get it's like a bell or something in Dragon's Dogma where you can fast travel. So people are now spinning that pretty hard, saying like, well, no, there's no fast travel, but you can pay $2 for it. It's like, no, it's optional. Like it shouldn't exist. It's stupid that there's any microtransactions to begin with, but it's all fun because now people are spreading misinformation saying like, no, this isn't available in the game. You have to pay $2 to fast travel. It's like, it's not the case. It's an option. It shouldn't be an option.
Oh, wow.
But it's just really stupid. So they're getting flack, understandably.
It's like Capcom put Uber into their game.
They really did. Yeah. But the thing that's weird to me though is this has happened with a lot of games where reviewers will give it really, really good reviews and not mention stuff either because it wasn't provided to them at review time or whatever the case was, but they don't go back to it just the scores. And I feel like things like, single characters or not being able to start a brand new game or these weird microtransactions like should have been mentioned in reviews and, affect the review score. Because the reviews for this game are stellar. Like they're, 8, 9, 10s out of 10. But it's interesting that there's some really puzzling choices, and Capcom's getting flack for it. But it's just like, no, it's.
But
cool.
it didn't affect anything.
It didn't really affect anything.
That always leads to huge disparities between like user reviews and then the official reviews.
Exactly right. So it's a really fantastic game. I like it lots for it's very much like Elden Ring, and it's Capcom's spin on that, and which is what Dragon's Dogma 1 kind of was already. So I'm gonna enjoy getting more into it. It's just it's interesting to see like there's people who genuinely love it, and there's all this like bubbling controversy under it too.
I feel that's always the problem with games that have an established fan base already and they know what's up, and then it starts to get a little more mainstream. So then the mainstream people are like,
I would say it's a fair
what the
point.
hell?
Yeah. Because like I said, like this microtransaction crap, like it happened with Devil May Cry 5. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, what is that for? And I saw it's like, if you just don't want to farm orbs, you could pay for them.
Oh, yeah.
Which I would never do. But I understand that there's people, like my brother, he has kids in a family. It's like, he doesn't have time to sit there and grind orbs like he used to back in the day. Like, I understand if he wants to pay $5 and get a boost or whatever. But, it's dumb it exists. But at the same time, like, it's an option,
Yeah.
So it's been a fun time for games. We've had a lot of great releases. Oh, and then I'll give a shout out to Contra Operation Galuga.
Yeah, I want to get that too.
You just saw me playing. I beat the story mode on there, and it's OG Contra Bliss, right down the name Contra OG Operation Galuga. It's a really cool game. So I guess with that, Deucy, we'll move on to our actual main events, the episode of the Immortals. All right, Deucy, WrestleMania and wrestling. What history do you have with WrestleMania and wrestling, just before even getting into the games?
Well, like I said, I kind of really got into it during the Attitude Era, when Stone Cold came in, and one of my first memories, I don't think I saw it live, but I do remember when Mankind won the title.
Oh yeah. The big moment on Raw.
Yeah, which was also during the Monday Night Wars and kind of swung it back in their favor.
Yeah.
As far as WrestleManias go, though, I don't remember really getting into those because they were always pay-per-view, and I definitely wasn't going to pay for them.
And your parents definitely were not.
No, and I didn't really know any of us like at the time with parents that were going to shell out for it, and then we'd go over to those houses. It wasn't like that. So it wasn't until I was living with Mike when we decided to flip one on, and I was like, oh, okay. And then it just sort of weirdly became an annual thing.
Yeah.
We would find somebody to host, and then we would go and watch, even if we hadn't been really keeping up all year.
Yeah, I think that's the fun thing with WrestleMania is like it's always a huge event, and especially over the last like 15, 20 years, it really feels like it's a huge event. But for me, I got into wrestling when I was probably around 3 or 4. I was really, really young because my dad always had it on. And it's funny because when I was converting my parents' VHS, some of the VHS for, to digital, there was like wrestling shows on it. Like there's Family Time stuff, and there's like, Superstars recorded at the end, like a full hour-and-a-half episode. So we were really into it. And I gone to a wrestling show in our town, like I guess when I was 4, because my parents took it to me. I don't really remember much except that I had a soda there. My mom took it away from me because we had to go back to our seats, which is the dumbest memory I could have from a wrestling show. And ever since then, like I've always watched it. Like I watched the premiere of Monday Night Raw when I was like 8 years old. And we always watched the pay-per-views because my dad had one of these scrambler boxes back in the day where you didn't have to pay for pay-per-view if you bought like a box from Radio Shack, or it's always like a friend of a friend knew someone who could get those.
Yep.
And you hook it up.
Sounds
and you get,
accurate.
Yeah, you get every pay-per-view channel for free. So we'd watch every wrestling event pretty much every single month, and especially with WrestleMania, that was like our thing. Like we watched that for sure. Like my grandma was into it. She didn't speak any English, but she watched it, and that was like a big family thing for us too. Until probably around 2001, when 2001, 2002. That's when I stopped watching. That's kind of when like a lot of people regard it as like the Attitude Era ending, and that's kind of what it was. Like when Stone Cold Steve Austin became a bad guy, like he sided with Vince McMahon. And then they did like the whole roster split. They bought WCW and ECW. That's when I kind of stopped watching for like a solid, God, it must have been like 10, 15 plus years.
Was that when it was really starting to become Raw versus SmackDown?
Yes, that's when the roster split happened. Exactly. So that's when I realized I stopped watching entirely, and I missed a ton of stuff then. But then, like, you know, I mentioned at the top of the show, like over the last, I don't know, 6 years or so, I've been watching some more stuff on YouTube, and I'll catch the pay-per-views. And then we always have fun when it's WrestleMania, especially now that's 2 nights and not like 1 7-8 hour show.
Yeah.
Like it used to be like several years ago, you know? And since then, so the first WrestleMania, Deucy, was in 1984. That even predates us by about a year, which is pretty crazy.
No, wasn't it 85?
No, 84 is when the first one premiered. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I got it backwards. You're right. It was in 1985, March 31st, 1985. 1984 is when Vince McMahon got the money, essentially.
Oh, okay.
To buy,
that would make sense. And then
yeah,
it takes about a year to get it all set up. Because I was thinking, I was like, you know, 85 had some pretty great things come out, like
Back to the Future,
the NES, WrestleMania,
That's
Us.
right. Yeah, I technically wasn't even born when WrestleMania aired because it aired on March 31st, 1985.
Oh. I was 26 days
Yeah, you were
old.
like, you were a few weeks old and WrestleMania was happening. Yeah. So the first WrestleMania happened when Vince McMahon, he bought Vince McMahon bought the company from his dad, Vince McMahon Sr. And his whole idea was to make the WWF at the time, World Wrestling Federation, global. He wanted to basically, you know, make it the biggest thing you can imagine, put pro wrestling on the map. And he did that by buying a lot of promotions at the time because everything was like in territories, more or less. So he bought a bunch of those up. And then in 1984, he bought Georgia Championship Wrestling. And he had a time slot on TBS, which was Ted Turner owned TBS. He's also a billionaire. He would later own WCW, which would be like WWF's biggest rival for the longest time in the mid-90s.
Man, I didn't realize TBS was that old.
Me neither. Like, you know, I tend to always frame things in the 90s when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it's weird to even think like TBS was a thing back then when, you know, in the 80s, you probably had like a handful of channels, really.
Well, even Fox wasn't that old when we were born.
Yeah. It's really weird. And now they're commonplace. You know? So Vince McMahon had a time slot on TBS, and the ratings for his show on there were pretty bad. And he ended up selling that time slot to Jim Crockett Promotions, who was also, again, like a rival promotion that was, you know, again, these weren't like fierce rivals like WCW, WWF, but they were rivals in their territories and whatnot. So he sold the time slot to Jim Crockett Promotions, and the sale of that time slot ultimately funded WrestleMania, which is pretty incredible that one sale funded 40 years of wrestling events. And the first WrestleMania, like we said, aired on March 31st, 1985 in Madison Square Garden in New York. And there was 19,121 people in attendance. And this was one of the weird instances of pay-per-view before pay-per-view was, you know, like a national thing. It was on closed circuit television, which is totally foreign to me. I have no idea what that really meant. I don't think I've ever seen anything on closed circuit television in my life.
No, I think that's more like, God, I can't even begin. But I've seen it used in things like over in England.
Yeah,
they have something similar.
Yeah, it's just sort of like an exclusive way to watch TV and you pay for it. Like I think this was probably like $10 to $15 at the time. I couldn't find a real number for it, but I imagine it was somewhere around there, which is pretty inexpensive. Well, and maybe it was expensive in the 80s, but also like wrestling wasn't as big as it was, so maybe $10 was kind of a high entry point for some people. But anyway, 1 million people watched it on pay-per-view, and then this event had huge celebrities, which they really wanted to make it, you know, WrestleMania really wanted to be like the premier wrestling event to make it mainstream and a huge thing. So they got some celebrities like Cyndi Lauper, Liberace was there.
Oh, that's fitting.
Yeah, for the 80s too. Yeah. Muhammad Ali was there, and he was a special ref in the main event. And then Mr. T was there as well. He was the main event teaming with Hulk Hogan to defeat Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff with their manager Cowboy Bob Orton, the father of Randy Orton, who's been a huge star for the last 20 plus years in WWE. So with WrestleMania, it was inevitable that at some point they'd start making video games. And believe it or not, Deucy, the first WrestleMania video game came out in 1989, developed by our friends at Rare. Can you believe that one?
No, I cannot.
It is pretty surprising. This one was published by Acclaim. This one was iconic because when I was a kid, like I saw this cover, it's like I really wanted to play it. It had Hulk Hogan ripping his shirt off and everything. It had the WrestleMania logo. Like it instantly made you want to play this if you were any kind of like wrestling fan as a kid. And this was, you recognize some people on this too, some staff. Like there's Kev Bayless, which you talked about in our Diddy Kong episode, and Donkey Kong, like he was a character designer, you know, Killer Instinct, like basically any big Rare project, he was a graphic designer artist.
Oh yeah. And
he did a lot of the art for this game, including like a lot of the portraits. Like I remember on Twitter, he mentioned something like he specifically remember doing the Ted DiBiase Portrait of the $1 Million Man. And there's also, there's also Tim Stamper, who is the co-founder of Rare. He's the designer for this game. And David Wise, Mr. Aquatic Ambiance himself, was the composer for this game. Yeah, can you believe that one?
So this was on NES. Did it have their like entrance music?
Yeah, it had digitized versions of some of them. I don't know what Andre the Giant had, but you definitely could hear the Real American theme and the Macho Man theme, the Pomp and Circumstance.
Yeah.
There were digitized versions, and they were fun. They were fun to hear on the Nintendo.
Well, it's easy to do Pomp and Circumstance on anything.
Exactly, yeah. So this game only had 6 wrestlers. There was Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Macho Man Randy Savage, the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, Bam Bam Bigelow, and Honky Tonk Man, who's like this, I guess this Elvis impersonator kind of guy we could call him. He's a really goofy wrestler. So I remember playing this game when I was a kid. I don't think you didn't play this one at all. I'd imagine, right?
Did not realize it existed, especially not from Rare. But yeah, I don't remember seeing it at all.
That's surprising. I would have thought Nintendo Power would advertise in some way, but it was '89, so maybe it wasn't that heavily advertised.
No, yeah, I'll point out when I first remember seeing wrestling advertised in Nintendo Power.
Yeah. So this game, it's a Nintendo wrestling game, and we were talking about this even before we started recording. There aren't that many wrestling games on the Nintendo, and of the ones that exist, they're pretty much all not great.
Yeah.
They're playable. There's only so much you can do with an 8-bit NES, and this game it tries to do a little bit more. Like there's an interesting mechanic here where you can pick up your wrestler's icon. Like Hulk Hogan has a crucifix that hops on the ring. Andre has like a big foot.
Yep.
Ted DiBiase has dollar signs that kind of flicker, and these basically boost your health and sort of like a health recovery thing. But it's kind of funny because like you're wrestling the other guy, and all of a sudden you see a random icon.
Yeah.
Bouncing across the back of the ring. You have to go collect it. And there's only like a handful of moves in here. Like there's headbutts, there's a running attack. You could jump off the top turnbuckle, which you really need for Macho Man because of his diving elbow.
Oh.
And of course the two big guys. Well, it's interesting because the two big guys in here, which are Andre the Giant, who's literally 7 feet tall, 7'2", 500 pounds, and you have Bam Bam Bigelow, who's like this really heavier guy. He's like 350, 400. He can go off the top rope in real life back then, but in this game they actually had sort of a weight class system where Andre and Bam Bam could not jump off the top turnbuckle, which is interesting.
Yeah, you got to differentiate them somehow.
Oh, exactly. And
did they have their like finishes or their signature moves?
I think they did, but they were pretty limited. Like I think it's like Macho Man has diving elbow, Hulk Hogan had like his leg drop, but it's like
those were basic moves.
Those were also basic moves back then too. So technically they did, but they didn't. But it also wasn't, again, like this isn't a robust game. Like it's more fun to play with your friends. Like I had played with a couple of my friends at the time. I don't know if Vito owned it or I don't know who owned it at the time. And you'll have fun with it, but it's not like the greatest wrestling game either.
Yeah.
It might be the best of the bunch, but still not great.
You're going to have better times with the action figures of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all those the LGN toys, which are fun. And then one fun thing that they added in here that is true to life, Hulk Hogan is the only person who could slam Andre in this game, which was a feat he had done at WrestleMania 3 a couple years before this.
Oh, you gotta hand it to Rare for the authenticity.
They did, yeah. And it's funny because Andre had been slammed before, from other wrestlers, but it's just, at the time, like, wrestling was so protected, like they want to make it sound like Hulk Hogan was the only person to ever do it ever.
Yeah,
but it's cool they added it in this game too. That's a nice little touch that kids from the time probably would notice. So the next game, which I was surprised was even considered a sequel because I do remember this game, but I didn't know I didn't realize it was actually titled WWF WrestleMania Challenge. This one was released in 1990, and this was also developed by Rare again. So they did like 2 wrestling games back to back at the time. And this is in the midst of them doing like Battletoads and everything else. I'm sure they did Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which might have come out around this time too.
Wow.
So they had a lot of
they had a
little bit of diversity.
But everything was under the LJN banner though, wasn't it?
Yeah, like especially Roger Rabbit was under that interactive banner, which was like at what LGN published games under before they switched to just LGN. Like I don't know why they did that, but yeah, that was like one of the last games to do it. Yeah. So and you could see the LGN little rainbow on the cover, the LGN Rainbow of Doom. So this game, there's really not a whole lot different to this game. The one thing that's kind of weird is that they altered the perspective, so it's more of like an isometric kind of view. So it plays differently than even WrestleMania 1.
Oh, whoa! Could you go out of the ring?
I don't think you could yet.
I mean, It seems like that's what they were setting up.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like they were trying something different, which, I'll commend them for that because it does make it seem a little different than the original.
You know what? It would make it easier, but I don't know if it affected it, was like now the posts are going to be at the cardinal directions.
Yeah, that's probably what would help too, especially when you're trying to climb up them, because now you could probably get to all 4. So that's really the biggest difference as far as gameplay. And then there are some cooler things I noticed. Like I did play this one a little bit on the NES. Like I played the on an emulator because I don't own this one, which I thought I did. But the biggest difference is the presentation is a little bit more glitzier. So it's like, nice. there's the entrance themes, but now when you win, like you get this cool screen that has like flashing, flickering stars all around the border and has your character portrait. Because the character portraits look really, really good. Like you could definitely tell the wrestlers are the wrestlers in this game.
Yeah, that they really spent the time on that part.
They did, yeah. And this one has a different roster, a little bit different. So this one has 9 wrestlers instead of 6. There's Hulk Hogan. There's Andre again, Macho Man Randy Savage. They added the Ultimate Warrior, who was huge at this time, and then early 80s, early 90s.
Makes sense.
Yeah, Big Boss Man. Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Don't know. I guess he was popular at the time. He was always like a goofy character. He was just this guy in spandex with hedge clippers.
Yeah, I know. They got to throw in somebody.
Yeah, Ravishing Rick Rude, who's great. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And yourself, which is just this generic wrestler.
Oh, like Little Mac?
Basically like Little Mac, yeah. Because the whole idea in this game is you can play through the championship mode, and that's taking yourself through it's just like a round robin tournament thing where you go through and you win the championship, and then you're congratulated for winning the WWF championship as yourself. And there's also a tag mode where 2 players can go through the championship mode and win the tag belts, which is kind of cool. But again, this game isn't great. Like it's hard to go back to now. There's really not much reason except for you get nostalgia fix that plays like the OG 80s wrestlers.
I wonder if there's I'm surprised there hasn't been speed runs on like AGDQ or something.
Championship run.
Yeah.
I would love to see someone attempt that just for the hell of it. So this game isn't terribly remarkable. Again, it's like these 2 NES games are pretty similar. Rare did try to differentiate this one with the the different viewpoints. Grapple system is largely the same. The sprites look a little bit better, but they're just different by nature because of how they're presented with the isometric view.
I will give it to them for, being under the LJN banner, which automatically puts a bad taste in people's mouths. But Rare did it, and for the Nintendo, they really did a good job of presentation, and like the characters look different. If you think about sports games at the time, baseball, all the people look the same, just a little different
maybe a different
color.
Number at best.
And Tecmo Bowl, the same thing, just different colors, but all the same little figures. And this one, they really tried to make it look like Andre does look different than Hulk and all that.
Yeah, like the presentation in these 2 games alone are probably better than most anything else as far as like there's a WCW game that I showed you that's on there. Like that presentation's pretty weak. Pro Wrestling, as it's just called, that's not great either. But Rare did really try their hardest to make this look like the WWF product at the time, like the TV and how they presented it. So it looks really good. It's just, I'm looking at like from the 2024 lens, it's hard to recommend it, right? But it's like back then, it was the coolest thing ever to play.
You got 2 buttons to work with here.
Yeah, right? So it's only so much you can do to begin with, but you'll have fun with it. Like it's dumb fun with 2 players. But after that, we'll get into the next set of WrestleMania games. These are the big ones that I played a ton when I was a kid, Deucy, and these are ones I know you have experience with. So we'll start with WWF Super Wrestlemania for the Super Nintendo. This was released in 1992. This was developed by Sculptured Software, who did the Mortal Kombat Super Nintendo port, Doom, Mortal Kombat 2. They were big on Super Nintendo. They were like that porting studio. And this was published by Acclaim, which was really LGN at the time. It was before LGN bought Acclaim, more or less.
Yeah, when I started this game up, the first thing you see is the rainbow makes a circle and then like flips into the LJN. I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
But this is the one that probably introduced me and my young eyes to the WWF because this was on the cover of a Nintendo Power.
I have that issue still.
I even remember the number, issue 35, because the very next issue was the one I didn't get. It had Darkwing Duck. And for some reason, I had this one, and I used it a lot because I remember vividly the cover is Hulk dropping a leg drop on...
I think it was Earthquake.
Yeah.
Yeah, an Earthquake.
And he's holding the Super Nintendo controller. It's glowing in his hand.
It's great.
And I was like, man, this looks fun as heck.
I'll have to post that.
Yeah, I don't even watch wrestling, but I wanted to play this.
Yeah, if I remember too, I think they had like motion... Not motion blur, but like motion streaks or whatever you want to call them to make it look like he was really coming down on Earthquake. Yeah, it was a really cool effect. But yeah, so I for this game, This was one of the first 2 Super Nintendo games I can remember buying because we were at Kmart and my dad, I remember looking inside the case. It was weird. Like you would look into the case because like, the guy behind the door would open it. And like I was looking at Turtles in Time, Ninja Turtles 4. Like that's where my 6 years old eyes actually at this point were glued to immediately. And my dad was like trying to push me into Super Wrestlemania because he was a huge wrestling fan as well, and he was all about Hulk Hogan and all the wrestlers. He's like, you sure you don't want Wrestlemania? I was like, no, like I want Ninja Turtles. It's right there.
Turtles.
Yeah. So we ended up with both. he just conceded. He's like, well, all right. So he ended up getting Turtles, which is the one I wanted, and he got Super Wrestling, which is what he wanted. So I vividly remember playing this with him when we got home because it was an awesome experience at that time. But what did you think when you played? Because you played this within last week, I'd say, right?
Yeah, and I also played it way back when I first got it. Not when I was younger, but more recently when I was doing the collections and getting the games by mail and stuff. So when I started it up, it is difficult, but it's not bad.
No, it's a fun game.
Especially for LJN. Like, it's not bad at all. It's just hard.
Yeah.
Which is understandable for the limitations that you have. But I also played it back-to-back with the Sega version. And once again, like, I know Sega has the finishers because they have to, because they're lacking in some other areas. Especially the buttons. Like, this would be a perfect time for the 6-button controller to work, and it doesn't. And so having to change some of the moves so that 2 buttons at once do it did not work for me.
Well, it worked for me, but I also had the manual at the time.
Yeah. For the Sega one, I do have the manual. I have a complete copy, which is nice.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't register when I had to do like B and C together. It did register finally about the pins when you told me about that.
Yeah.
But for like just a regular suplex or like the finishers, it was only registering 1 button at a time. And I'm like, no, I'm pushing 2.
Yeah, that might be. I don't know if that's a controller thing because I was able to get. Well, I'll get into the Super Nintendo version because we're jumping ahead to the Genesis one.
Yeah, the Super Nintendo one was fine if I wasn't getting my ass handed to me, but like at least each individual face button can do something different.
It was nice because I remember like Y was run, like you had your basic punch, your basic kick. Then there's a grapple button, which in this game and basically all these games in this 16-bit era, it ended up doing like a tug of war system, which I thought was really fun, especially with 2 players. It's not someone with a CPU because they can just cheat. Yeah, right. That's the whole mess. If you play on hard difficulties, that just means they
win every time.
They win every time, more or less. Yeah. So when you're like, I would play this a lot with my buddy Alex. I'm sure I play with a bunch of other friends too, but the tug of war system was really cool because you would grapple and you would mash A, B, or another button, and that would determine if you had like a scoop slam, suplex, whatever. But you had to outmash your buddy to get the move done. Otherwise, the grapple would break or it'd almost be like a stalemate. And so I loved this game when I was a kid. I really loved it, but like you said, the one thing that made me really sour, and I won't say like it's not like I didn't play it ever again. It was the lack of finishers. One of the coolest things when you watch any wrestling event or wrestling show is like when your favorite wrestler does a finisher, like Bret Hart with the sharpshooter, Macho Man with his diving elbow, or whatever, or even Earthquake has like this bonsai drop thing where you just like butt slams the guy.
Yeah, it's always funny to see that, like, even back when video games weren't a big thing, WWF knew that you needed something spectacular at the end, so they had these finishers.
Yeah, it was like a signature move that would basically put the other guy out.
Yeah,
in the wrestling world because it's scripted, obviously.
Yeah,
but the idea is like it's so devastating they can't get up.
Yep.
So this game totally lacks that. But there are some advantages it has over the Genesis one. Like the sound is a little bit better, even though there's less voice samples. I think like there's less sound effects. I think.
Yeah, but the graphics are a little better too. In the
background. Exactly. Graphics sound a little bit better. This one has a pretty solid roster. It's a little bit bigger. There's 10. There's again Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan is like in every early game because he was that huge. Like you have to understand, Hulkamania was running wild from like 84 until like 93, 94 ish. So Hulk Hogan was in here. Randy Savage. The $1 Million Man's also in here. Jake the Snake Roberts, who was a favorite of mine when I was a kid. The Undertaker. I think this is like his first game ever. This first, as far as these 2 WrestleMania games.
Nice.
And then Sid Justice, who would later become Psycho Sid, and Sid Vicious. He's quite the hilarious wrestler if you don't know him. And they had a couple tag teams like the Legion of Doom and the Natural Disasters, which were Earthquake and Typhoon. 2 heavyset guys who knew what they were doing, I guess. So with this and the Genesis version, only Hogan, Savage, and DiBiase are shared, which was really interesting because this was also one of the rare instances back then where there were roster differences. And for me as a kid, as a wrestling fan, that was pretty hard to deal with.
I was very surprised when Undertaker wasn't in the Genesis.
Right? It's totally weird because he was newer at the time and he was a huge character.
Yeah, he was like a true character. Like you would expect him to be in every video game. You would expect him to star in his own video game.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. So I don't know what decisions ended up, leading to different rosters. I really don't know because it was by the same developer. Sculpture Software did, the Super Nintendo and Genesis ones.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I guess for a reason, maybe that was the thing is they just want to have a different set of rosters or different set of wrestlers. So like if you did want to get your favorites, you could get them on either system. Mm-hmm. But the Genesis one we could go into now, you kind of went into it before. But yeah, the biggest difference with the Genesis one is it has signature moves and the roster. The modes are largely the same, I think, right?
And a championship mode.
Oh, that's right. And the championship mode that's not in the Super Nintendo one, which that one only has like exhibition modes. And I think there's a 4v4 Survivor Series, which I don't think the Genesis one has, or is that 3v3 on Genesis? I can't remember.
Oh, I didn't play that one. That was that
might be the other difference. Modes. Yeah, but the Super Nintendo one does not have any championship ladder mode whatsoever, which is really interesting.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know if they didn't have the programming power,
or maybe they ran out of time. Like I don't know. That's the thing is like whenever these games come out, I don't know how long they had to develop it because I'm used to development times now where it's like, yeah, we've been working on it for 7 years, 2 years. It's like, oh, we made it in 3 months. Well, I can't be mad at how the game turned out because it turned out pretty great for 3 months or 6 months or whatever, So the Genesis one, I remember playing this at a friend's house because I really wanted this and I couldn't really find it for sale. And I probably couldn't convince my parents to buy it anyway. But this one, I like it better, and I don't want to say like it's miles better at all. Like these are very similar games when you get to the core of it, but it has finishing moves.
Yeah,
and that's all I wanted as a kid. It also had a little bit more diverse roster. Like it had Hogan, Savage, and the $1 Million Man, which were in the Super Nintendo version. But the Genesis one, despite only having 8 wrestlers, also includes the Ultimate Warrior, which again was a huge wrestler at the time. Papa Shango, Urinar Shyster, who's IRS, who's Ted DiBiase's tag team partner. Yeah, exactly. $1 Million Man, the IRS. Name a better combo. And there's the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, and Shawn Michaels, which is surprising he wasn't in the other WrestleMania game either.
Ultimate Warrior was a surprise too. Like I'm surprised Ultimate and Shawn weren't in both.
It's really surprising because
and Undertaker wasn't in Genesis.
Yeah, and Warrior was in the Nintendo one. He was in WrestleMania Challenge, which came out a couple years before this. So it's weird that just the Super Nintendo, it's weird that they dedicated 4 slots to tag teams, but there's no tag team championships or anything. It's just they had the Road Warriors, Earthquake, and Typhoon, but Genesis doesn't have like a tag team combo at all. Well, I guess you could argue $1 Million Man and IRS, but even then. One cool thing I mentioned about both these games that I really liked as a little feature was if you highlight your character on the character select screen for a moment.
Oh, this is my favorite part.
Yeah, their entrance theme plays.
Yeah,
and they're pretty crude. Like Super Nintendo one definitely sounds better. I would say like just by a mile. Genesis one has its Genesis charm. Like I still love how they sound.
For one, I'm gonna point out as I always do that Sega had the worst sound, but it wasn't horrible in this one. It was just
pretty good.
The usual kind of tinny sound.
Exactly. Like it just doesn't sound as rich as the Super Nintendo.
But I remember I was playing it and I had to do some laundry, so I just left it on Undertaker on the Super Nintendo while I was like switching over my laundry and everything. And I stopped and I was like, man, this is. First of all, it's going for a longer amount of time than I expected it to, and it's really kind of getting in depth into the song. I was like, this is impressive.
That's one of the coolest features. I remember that as a kid as well. Like that was one of the coolest features, was just sitting there at the select screen and it would play a theme. Because you wouldn't have YouTube or anything. Like the only way you could hear the themes that you liked was to watch the show, basically. Like you didn't have anywhere else to really listen to it. So I thought it was really awesome. I could just have it on there and like it's almost like having an entrance in your head.
Yeah.
But it was a really cool feature. So. Both games, I would say, are worth playing just for the hell of it because they're fun and they're, if anything, they're a time capsule for what WWF was in the early 90s.
Could the Super Nintendo one, if you did tag, could you use the 4-player adapter?
No, it was only 2 players. Still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was only 2 players, unfortunately. So it was basically you with a buddy or you versus a buddy in a tag team thing.
Yeah.
And same for Genesis. I think that probably had like a 2-player mode as well. Like I think this is well before they even had the multi-tap maybe. I don't know when those even came out, right? 92 with Super Nintendo was still pretty young.
Yeah, that was its only second year.
Exactly, yeah. So these two games, they would ultimately spawn off two more games I did live on both systems as well, but they were a lot more similar. Was Royal Rumble, which had a similar disparity between the two. They had different rosters. Both played a little bit better because they're just iterative. Like, there's nothing mind-blowing about them either. They just look a little bit better, and there's different roster wrestlers. And then the last one they released was WWF Raw, which that one actually did have the same roster on both versions. They finally got it on the last game.
Oh, fine.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah, and those all those games are fun. Like, I love that series of wrestling games. Like, they're basic, they're fun, like, they're much more playable than the Nintendo ones by and large. So the next sort of generation of wrestling games for WrestleMania that we're going to talk about is one of my favorites of all time, Deucy. I don't know how you feel about this one, but we're going to talk about WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game.
So I only have this on Super now, but I freaking love it as well.
Did you play it at my house before?
But I don't remember.
Not play it too much, right?
I don't remember. Well, so I do remember you probably had the Sega one.
No, I had the PS1 version because that's what got me up. That's what made me get a PS1 was this game, Street Fighter the movie.
Because I just remember playing back then as Doink and Yokozuna.
Them specifically back then?
I do remember that because the other guys to me seemed very cookie cutter. Hulk Hogan and Macho Man and everybody. They were just buff guys in small underwear. But like Doink is freaking a clown.
He's a clown. He's a little clown.
And Yokozuna is a sumo wrestler. Yeah. And I was like, this is hilarious. Just I don't remember them being that different from Super Wrestlemania. In fact, when I played these kind of back to back to compare, it reminds me of the difference between Batman Forever and then the acid trip that Batman Forever on PS1 is.
That's a fair comparison. Yeah, because both are wildly different games on different sides of the spectrum.
I mean, in this arcade game, it's way faster. You're smacking guys and things are flying out of them. Little symbols and things are flying out of them. You can do basic combos that you would see in like Mortal Kombat 3 or Street Fighter. It was just so wacky. You don't even care if it's not really authentic.
It is so freaking good. And I didn't know about this game either until I'd seen it at Toys R Us. I don't recall ever hearing about it. I don't remember seeing ads. It was only until I saw it in the display case. I was like, what is this? What's the PlayStation? So I ended up getting it, and it's still one of my favorite PS1 games. But this game was released, by the way, in 1995. It was developed and published by Midway. This was, again, like at the height of Midway arcadedom, where they had NBA Jam, they had Killer Instinct already out, Mortal Kombat. This was, in WrestleMania arcade game, it uses those same digitized graphics. So they actually filmed the wrestlers doing their moves, with the same setup they did with Mortal Kombat and all those other digitized games, and then they, rendered them into the game. And it's amazing because, like I said, they had all those animation flourishes where it's like, like Doink, he has like a hand buzzer as a move.
Yeah.
I think like when Lex Luger hits you, like dumbbells fall out because he's like this really buff guy.
I was playing as Shawn Michaels, and when he kicks you a certain way, hearts fly out.
Yeah, hearts because he's a Heartbreak Kid. Yeah. So they basically took every wrestler's personality and took elements from their personality and made them, bleed that way in a sense. Instead of blood, it's just like they're dripping out icons that are related to their character.
Yeah.
Which is almost kind of a weird throwback to the original NES game where they had symbols for each wrestler, but this is like something where it's like you're getting hits, almost like an effect kind of thing they're going with. So like I say, it was using digitized graphics. This was released in 95, and programmer Mark Tummel, who was, again, huge at Midway, he worked on everything there from the golden arcade era. He worked for 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 6 weeks to get this game out. And he said people in the office were totally addicted to it, which I could fully understand. This game is really easy to pick up and play. And they all had like different feedback. And then Sal DeVita, who was actually one of the Mortal Kombat actors, I think he played Scorpion or Scorpion Sub-Zero in the early Mortal Kombat games. But anyway, he's the developer at Midway, and he was also working on this game. And then there was some bits that were cut out from this game. There was a wrestler named Adam Baum. It's weird, like, he wasn't the most popular wrestler at the time. He was only in there for like a couple years, but they included him probably because of his look. Like, he had like these sort of like Fallout goggles on. Like, he had like this nuclear outfit kind of thing.
Yeah, I could see that with the name.
Yeah, and exactly with the name
Adam.
Yeah, and he would probably fit really well with this game. And They did work on him, but I guess they just cut him out for time. Like there's actually a lot of like sprites and animations you could find. I'll try it. Maybe I'll post them or something.
Could you imagine if he was in the game and you could just like nuke people?
That would be really funny. Yeah, they were actually supposed to have fatalities in this game, which is interesting. Undertaker is the only character with one. Like it's a button combo you enter. Like I think when their health is low. And then he'll throw him into a casket, which is fun. Like he summons a casket and just flings him in there with like the force grip, But this game, oh my God, Deucy, it has 8 wrestlers. What do I have here? We have Bret Hart, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, Bam Bam Bigelow, Yokozuna, Doink the Clown, and Lex Luger. These are all huge guys from that new generation era of WWF at the time, like that mid '90s point, like '93 to basically '97 when the Attitude Era started. And they all play differently. Like they all have the same button scheme, right? Like there's punches, kicks, there's a grapple, but everything is just ramped up to 11 as far as arcade sense.
I was going to point that out because I played as, just to like get a feel for it, I played as Razor Ramon, and it was okay. I was hitting guys with a chair, and I was doing some moves, but it was kind of slow, kind of sluggish. When I switched over to Shawn Michaels, he is a lot quicker.
He's got zip.
And you can button mash your way into a combo without even realizing it.
Yeah. And I learned a few because, again, like I played this so much back then, like, because you could sort of raise up your, sort of like a heat meter or like an on fire mode, like an NBA Jam.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you could chain combos together. So it's like, I remember with Razor Ramon, like you would hit 4-4 Y to do the grapple thing, and you mash Y, triangle, I say Y, 4-4 triangle to grapple them, and then you mash circle, and then you end up in like this giant pile driver move with like the on fire effect behind them.
Oh, yeah.
So everything is just, it looks ridiculous and over the top, and it works so freaking well. I genuinely love this game.
Yeah.
This was released on pretty much everything as well, by the way. This was released in the arcades. It was like, I think it was the 3rd best arcade of the year in 95. Which is pretty huge to say. Like it's a wrestling game, which isn't quite mainstream, but how quick this game is to get into and how fun it is really opened up its popularity.
I was surprised because we played it, like you said, on PlayStation, but I don't remember that too well. Mm-hmm. And so when I got it on Super Nintendo, it didn't dawn on me that it was during sort of the crossover period between generations of systems. And it's just impressive that it's still on Super Nintendo and Genesis when Saturn and PlayStation were already out.
Yeah, I would say this is an example of that. And NBA Hang Time, though, that's another thing where I forget was also on Super Nintendo and Genesis. Because you're right, this is when we were transitioning to 3D systems like Saturn and PS1. Because this was on, it was released in arcades. There was a Genesis port, Super Nintendo, PS1, Saturn. The 32X got a port, believe it or not, which, we know how long that system lasts, like less than a year.
Yeah.
And then the PC got a port as well. So this was on everything. And there are some differences, like the PS1 and Saturn versions are the versions you want to play, the arcade version notwithstanding, of course. But if you're going to play any version of this game, definitely pick up the PS1 version or the Saturn version.
Yeah, those are probably closest to the arcade.
They're closest to the arcade by a mile because the Genesis one and Super Nintendo, they do have certain concessions just because they're older hardware. It's actually impressive it even runs at all.
Yeah.
Because they play really well for what they are.
Yep.
They're definitely slower, definitely uglier. The Super Nintendo one seems to be the most... at a disadvantage. Like you can only have 3 wrestlers on the screen at once, and there's slowdown.
And there's only 6 to choose from.
There's only 6. They completely cut out Yokozuna and Bam Bam Bigelow, which I have to imagine is probably for space, literal space issues on there. And then Genesis one has all 8, and it surprisingly has more voice samples, and it can support up to 4 wrestlers in the ring at once with slowdown. So it's like that blast processing gives it a little bit of an edge.
Yeah.
But they're really good games nonetheless. Like I would definitely say, like if you only have an option for Super Nintendo and Genesis, like pick it up. It's fun.
Yep.
And this one I do remember playing a ton because the championship mode it's just like a tournament gauntlet, like Mortal Kombat, where for the Intercontinental Championship you have to go through like singles matches. I think there's like 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. Then you get in like an endurance handicap match where it's like 2v1, so it's like you versus 2 wrestlers at the same time, and then there's 1 versus 3. And the heavyweight championship mode, it ramps that up. So there was like a couple singles matches, and there's more 1v2. There's more 1v3, and then the last match to win the championship is it's like a 1v8 gauntlet basically, where it's 1 versus 3, but as you defeat them, they come in like one after another. So you defeat them, then you're the champion. And this game has an interesting sort of spin on wrestling and pinning, because in the other games, like you kind of drain your health, like there's a certain pace to the matches, and this is just, it's an arcade game, so it's just like you're supposed to drain the other person's health and you pin them pretty much instantly. And you have all kinds of moves, like there's button combination moves like Mortal Kombat. Like I remember Razor Ramon had a 4-4 X where he would like grab you by your legs and like slam you onto the ground if you mash it, like he's beating a carpet or something, you know? All the moves in here are ridiculous. It's just such dumb fun. And like I would say like this is like one of the best 2-player games you could play on PS1 as far as just dumb fun. I wish it was 3 or 4 player. That would be really ideal.
I just had this brilliant flash of the WrestleMania 40 is coming up, and to honor this game, they should have Roman Reigns fight 8 people back to back to back.
Oh yeah,
to retain the title
style. Yeah. And one thing I do want to point out with this too is because it was on PS1 and Saturn, it now has CD quality audio and music. So you have commentary by Jerry Lawler and Vince McMahon, which isn't the best commentary. It's just like sound bites.
Oh yeah,
but it's great. It still punctuates things the way it should.
That's fitting for a midway arcade game.
Exactly, it's perfect. It's just like Tim Kritzkau with NBA Jam.
Yeah,
very much like that. And then also because of the CD quality music, you have much better sounding entrance themes, like the actual entrance themes from from the
TV.
Show. Yeah, from TV. And that was the great things. I remember being able to beat the championship modes just to hear like the snippet because it was like 5 seconds.
They even on the Super Nintendo, they have the briefest of clip while you're running along doing the little ladder match and you're going from one character that you beat to the next one. Like I would hear the briefest part of Shawn Michaels' theme.
Yep,
and
it's just a snippet clip.
Yeah, and then it kicks right in.
Yeah, so this game, stellar. It was well received. I should say the Saturn and PS1 versions were well received at the time. The Super Nintendo and Genesis versions less so, but it's also again like they were on their way out, so it's like they were respectable ports. And the 32X one, it's really weird. It looks a little bit better than Genesis, and it plays a little bit better, but they cut the frame rate in half.
Oh,
so it's from 60 frames a second to 30, which isn't that noticeable really, but it's like it's noticeable when you're playing them back to back, right? Because one's much faster than the other, but also it's like it just means it just looks sluggish at that point too.
Yeah, now it feels like the other games, like Super Wrestlemania or something.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a weird port. Like I would like to have it, but it's also really expensive. It's like $150, and
oh god,
yeah.
Plus you need a 32X and all that.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So just stick to the PS1 and Saturn versions. All right, Deucy. So the next one is a big one in our teenage gaming history.
Oh my goodness!
Yes. So this one, I think this one we're both very excited to talk about. This is also just one of our favorite N64 games, at least one of my favorite N64 games. We're getting into WWF WrestleMania 2000 from the Nintendo 64. This was one of the 2 games that was released under the WWF banner back then. It was WrestleMania 2000 and then No Mercy, which I would love to cover at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But for this episode, we're covering WrestleMania, and this one was released in November 1999. And this was developed by the AKI Corporation, which they have a lot of history with the Virtual Pro Wrestling Japanese games, which these are modeled after. These are using the same engine, but they're sort of Americanified, if we could say that, for the WWF.
They have quite a lot for that series, don't they?
They do. There's a lot on N64. There's a few on PS1. Like they've done quite a few Virtual Pro Wrestling games.
Yeah.
And this one's based specifically on 2. Not that it matters for our purposes because I never played Virtual Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
But there are a handful, and this is based on the second one. Probably because it was the most recent one they could build off of. And this was released actually 5 months before WrestleMania 2000, which would occur on April 2nd, 2000. So this was a few months before. And this has the WrestleMania 15 arena, which was, the event that happened in 1999.
Oh, okay.
This one, I mean, just alone, the roster size alone is a massive difference than any other game I've seen before this. Because there was, at this point, I think SmackDown was out on PS1. But even then, that probably had 30 wrestlers, 40. This has 50 WWF wrestlers, which is like everyone you can imagine from that time frame.
And before this, the only WWF games were Warzone and Attitude?
Warzone and Attitude, which had Warzone had a really small roster. I want to say it was under 15, and Attitude had a much bigger roster. I don't know if it was quite 50 though.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
It was pretty big. It was considerably larger, but Attitude is definitely not as good as this game. I love Attitude, but these are incomparable.
Yeah.
So this game had basically everything you can imagine from this era. This was at the peak of the Attitude Era when things were getting a little bit more risque, a little bit more adult. There's now, bad language. Stone Cold Steve Austin's giving his Boston middle finger and giving him stunners. This was a different era of wrestling, and I was a teenager for it. So I was right in that demographic at this point for the Attitude Era. And this game, I could not wait for this game because we had played WCW, NWO World Tour, and Revenge, which were 2 huge wrestling games previous to this. So to have a WWF game under those engines was like a godsend.
That was my thing. Was I was more of a WWF fan at the time, and so I really liked Warzone and Attitude, but I didn't like how they played compared to the WCW games.
Yeah.
So really, the only things I knew about WCW were from those games, and I was like, boy, it'd be nice if WWF could do this.
Yeah, we were waiting for it.
Yeah.
And it finally happened. I think it was just one of those things where AKI, their agreement and their license with WCW ran out, and WCW went with EA, and they produced some pretty not great games after
That's
that.
putting it mildly.
Yeah, which was reflective on WCW as a whole.
Yeah.
But WrestleMania 2000, you see, oh my God, this game, like, what can we say about this game? Like the grapple system, I guess we should start with that. It's really simple and easy to get used to.
My favorite part.
Yeah, it's so simple to get into. It's like you have your basic grapple where you just tap A, and you have your stronger grapple where you hold A, and then you get in a grapple state there. And you have moves that branch off of those two grapples, whether it's strikes or other grapple moves like slams or, or suplexes,
or
stuff,
whips.
or whips.
Yeah.
There's a lot. The move list in here is pretty extensive for an N64 game, and it's all really easy to do.
Yeah. And following that is the insane creative wrestler mode, where you can now individually attach different grapples to the different directions and the different hits and strikes to the different directions.
We made ourselves in these games all the time. Like I'm sure, I know No Mercy, we still have ourselves, like our teenage selves, which is funny.
Yeah.
I'm sure WrestleMania 2000, if I put up my cart, we probably have some creation we'd put on there. But it's also great because you could edit all the wrestlers too. So they all have like their default 4 attires, which you could toggle with the C buttons. And you can edit each of those attires. So like if you want to update a wrestler's look because maybe on TV they changed their gimmick or they got new attire, you could do that in this game, which could never be done before. This was a huge thing where if you want to keep your sort of roster up to date, you're allowed to do so until No Mercy came out like a year later. This has a Road to WrestleMania mode that's that fits with the WrestleMania 2000 title. This mode, it's basically going through an entire year of WrestleMania. You start as a rookie and you build up your way to get to the heavyweight championship. You can also win other championships in the midst of it, like the Intercontinental Championship. I think you can win the Hardcore Championship and the tag belts. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because in this game, losses don't stop the game. It's just counted towards your win-loss record. It might put you, be like a little bit of a setback.
Oh yeah, that was another thing that made so much sense.
Yeah, it's like it sucks when back then we accepted because that's just how games were. It's like if you lost, that was like game over. But in this game, it's like no, like it's it's like in TV.
It's part of life.
It's part of life. You're gonna lose, and if anything, like it's not like it's a huge setback. It's not like in Mike Tyson's Punch Out where you get thrown back to the beginning of the tier you're in. It's just you might have to do another match or have a rematch that kind of sets up a little fuse with other wrestlers. So they tried a lot with this basic mode. Like it only goes through a year to where you end up going to WrestleMania 2000, which again, it's in the WrestleMania 15 arena, but you can win the championship there. That's the whole thing. It's like you start as a rookie and your main goal is to main event WrestleMania and be the champion. So it was a great little mode. You could get some unlockables, like you can unlock Cactus Jack, Dude Love, Jerry Lawler. You can unlock Jim Ross, our favorite commentator. Paul Bearer, who is Undertaker's manager. I think it was managing Kane at this time. And Shawn Michaels, he's an unlockable character, which is really funny to see because he's been like a roster mainstay. But
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, but by this time he was retired, so he was sort of like an unlockable legend, more or less.
Oh, that's right. And I do remember having to unlock Stephanie.
Exactly, yeah. Stephanie McMahon's playable in here, which is really funny. You could play as her or some of the other female wrestlers. You can unlock Godfather's playable Ho, which I thought was a funny unlockable that doesn't date very well these days.
No.
Yeah, and
just those words coming out of your mouth.
It's really weird. That's what it was like back then. The Creator Wrestler mode, we talked about that. One little note about that, which was fun, is because this was based on the Virtual Pro Wrestling engine and by proxy the WCW games, they kept a lot of the movesets from WCW wrestlers in this game, but not the WCW wrestlers because they legally couldn't. So it's cool. They have like move lists for Diamond Dallas Page, Scott Hall, Hulk Hogan, Goldberg. So basically, if you want to recreate them to make your sort of fantasy matches back then, you probably could.
Oh yeah, just create them. I'm sure there was things online that said, "Here's how to make them."
I'm almost certain I looked it up because I think I'm sure I looked up like on forums back then where people had like the numbers and all the sets and everything. I'm sure we did that. That seems like something we totally would have done. So this game was well reviewed, understandably. Like it was just well received early because again, it had that pedigree of the earlier WCW games that kind of lead into it. So if anything, the WCW games helped make this game great because it's the third in their series, right? And there was a Game Boy Color port. I didn't play it. It didn't get very good reviews, understandably. Like it was just an okay, and it's also Game Boy Color. Like I imagine it's closer to the Nintendo games more than anything else.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Still, you're back down to 2 buttons and all that.
Exactly. So, if you want a portable, I'm sure it's a great experience, but you want the meat and potatoes, you go to WrestleMania 2000 on the Nintendo 64.
I'd want that more for Game Boy Advance than Game Boy Color.
Yeah, I'll talk about the one Game Boy Advance game I played. That's WrestleMania. That doesn't fare so well either.
Whoops.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I always liked this one a little more than No Mercy. Well, I did like No Mercy, how it upgraded everything. It had better entrances and better customization, but there was always that threat of the memory like totally screwing up.
Oh, in the earlier versions, yeah, your game state would just get corrupted.
Yeah.
Like, it happened to me. I was championing with my created character in one of the modes, and I walked out the next match with just generic attire. I was like, oh crap, what does this mean? I went back and like everything was deleted. Yeah.
That was ridiculous. Whereas 2000, seemed pretty safe for having less stuff in it.
It was, yeah. So again, like this is one of my favorite Nintendo 64 games. Like these wrestling games we play this now sometimes, and like despite how slow it could be, just because it's running on old hardware, they're still insanely fun. Like we do 4-player on this, and it's still a great time. It's just,
and we still end up ganging up on you.
I know, yeah. That'll never end. Yeah. It's always a handicap match with me. Yeah. So this game, I really can't say much more great about it. Like it's just so damn good. Any final thoughts on 2000, Deucy?
No, I'd say it's timeless.
Timeless is a great word for it. Yeah, that one we could pick that up now and still have a great time with it. Yeah. So now we're kind of getting into the next generation of WrestleMania games. This is where I kind of stopped watching. A lot of my friends at the time, like I didn't have many friends who watched wrestling when I was a kid, and even then, like when I started to work and I met Mike and Randy, like they were I'd say like pretty well invested into it, especially Randy. But I was just out of it this time because like I said, 2001, 2002, that's when I stopped watching. I didn't like how the show was going. There was just a lot I didn't like, and then also with this, like the roster was changing. There was a roster split. They had a lot of new people that I didn't recognize because I've been out of it for so long. And like WCW's dead. So for me, the lack of competition is what kind of made them comfortable. And for me, I was just like, I don't know. I'm just not having fun anymore. I was watching this like religiously back then. Where like every Monday was like church for me at 9 o'clock. I was watching Monday Night Raw. I was watching all the pay-per-views. And I just stopped. It was like, oh, damn, like this isn't fun anymore.
And that's how... by proxy, that's how I was keeping up with it. Was you watching it weekly?
Yeah. So next couple of games I have, I own this because my brother bought it, and we really got this because it was supposed to be similar to the N64 games. And the first one we're talking about is WWF Wrestlemania X8, which would later be changed to WWE Wrestlemania X8 because this was in development when they were still WWF, and then the World Wildlife Fund got in a lawsuit with World Wrestling Federation over the trademark of WWF. So WWF, the World Wrestling Federation, I don't know if they paid a fine or whatever, but they came into an agreement where they would just change their name.
Yep.
And that's when it become World Wrestling Entertainment, which is what it's been known since 2002. So this game was developed under the WWF banner and then released under the WWE banner.
Did it ever print boxes with the WWF?
Not that I know of.
Oh, okay. I'm sure that would have been a lot of money.
Yeah, that's what I was curious too, because I did see there was a variance in covers. Like the cover stars here are Hulk Hogan, Rob Van Dam, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. So in 2002, Stone Cold Steve Austin, he was already having like a lot of health issues, and he was having issues with how his characters were being written and portrayed. He eventually walked out, I think it was like May 2002, from having a match with Brock Lesnar because he felt like they were giving a free pay-per-view match on TV with no build-up, and Austin just walked out. So as a result of him walking out of his job and basically, the company just talking crap about him and burying him, they took him off the cover of WrestleMania X8. So there's versions out there that have The Rock, Hulk Hogan, and Rob Van Dam on it.
Oh, wow.
Which I didn't realize, because I don't know if I've really seen the version with The Rock on it.
Well, like I said, I couldn't remember this game at all. Like, I vaguely remember the X8 symbol, but I also thought it was for X7. So
I know, you're like, is there an X7? He's like, no, X8.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
Yeah. So I played this back then. It's fun. Again, the biggest reason that I played it is because I didn't like how the SmackDown games played for the most part. Like, I love them, but I think I hated how you could do a finisher and like they would pop up right away. Like it was really just not. It really wasn't that great. And also, like at this time, the SmackDown games had been on PS2, and I only had Just Bring It, which was the last game I got before I stopped watching. And it had a lot of the same problems where it's like you would, like it just didn't have the pace I liked. It was a little bit too arcadey, but not like WrestleMania the arcade game arcadey.
I remember we played one of the SmackDowns. It must have been one of the earliest ones on PlayStation, I want to say.
It's probably Just Bring It, because that's the only one I bought until SmackDown 2006.
But I've also heard that, like, I want to say SmackDown versus Raw 04 is like the NFL 2K5 of wrestling games.
Yeah, it's that's when they turned things around, I would say, like when they got a little bit more simulation-like, but not like heavy sim. But they really changed the engine for what it was with the SmackDown games, because really the pinnacle of SmackDown games was SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, which is still an amazing game. Like I didn't play that till way later.
Yeah.
But I stopped because they stopped being fun. If I had known Here Comes the Pain was going to be the thing, I would have gone towards it too. But WrestleMania X8, this was developed by Ukes, who's the developer for SmackDown. But what Ukes did was they actually hired developers from the AKI Corporation.
Smart.
Yeah, to help develop this thing because it was on Nintendo, so they want to get some familiarity with the Nintendo players. And this was a GameCube game. This is only on GameCube, which is really interesting because SmackDown was on the PlayStation games, or excuse me, on PS1, PS2. Xbox had the Raw games, which were not great, WWE Raw and WWE Raw 2, and another one we'll talk about soon enough. And GameCube had their own series, so they had the WrestleMania X8 and X9, which was 19, XIX.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they also had the Day of Reckoning games, which I like a lot better. So it was a little bit more closer to the N64 games. But WrestleMania X8, for this purposes, it's all about WrestleMania 18, which was really the story of that event was Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, like two generational icons fighting it out in one of the biggest events ever. So this was coming off the steam of that, and it's a fun game. Like it has a pretty huge roster. It has a lot more match types than you expect from most recent game was WrestleMania 2000, which had a good amount of modes, but this has like Hell in the Cell. There's a TLC match, which is tables, ladders, and chairs, which is a popular match type at the time. Just complete chaos and weapons all over the place. They have an Iron Man match, and then the cool thing with the Hell in the Cell is that you could have unique grapples for the walls, like wall attacks.
Oh yeah,
and you could also get on top of the cage and throw them through there into the mat, which was really fun to see.
It's funny that like that's sort of commonplace now, but it was a unique element back then.
It was a brand new thing. Like Hell in the Cell was like a brand new game mode. Yeah, so it was a really cool feature they added. The roster here, a lot of people I'm kind of familiar with and not really, but this one had like the big stars at the time. There was Stone Cold Steve Austin's in there. Ric Flair, this was his Ric Flair is old.
Yeah. Put it mildly.
Yeah, this was like his second or third run where he was like in his late 40s, I want to say, maybe early 50s, and he still could go. But this is also when like it was surprising that he was still wrestling in 2002. So Ric Flair was in there. The NWO was in this game because they had just signed with the WWF after the purchase of WCW. Because when WCW got bought out, a lot of the wrestlers who were under contract stayed at home and took their contract because it's like, well, I'm just going to stay home and get free money because I don't know what WWF's going to do with me. Like they could, bury my character or whatever. So I'm just going to sit at home. So 2002, the money dried up. And that's when they got, people like Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Hulk Hogan's in this game, which is crazy because it's like the first game he's been in.
The return of all of those guys.
Yeah, the return of all those guys after they've been at the other company for the longest time. Kurt Angle's in here, Rob Van Dam, Scott Hall, I already mentioned Scott Hall, Lance Storm, Rhino, who are from ECW, the Hardy Boys, and then they have female wrestlers like Stephanie McMahon and Trish Stratus. So this is a really fun game. I'd say like if you could pick it up now, it's only like $15 or $20. It's a really fun wrestling game. I think this one is 4 players, so you get something out of that for that. There's a ton of modes. I'd say this is like one of the better games on this list with WrestleMania the arcade game you could pick, and WrestleMania 2000.
Yeah.
I did play the Game Boy Advance version, which is called Road to WrestleMania X8, and the game's graphics look pretty cool. Like they have like a pseudo digitized look, but they still look like they're made up of sprite parts. Like when they do moves, like their arm is kind of like.
That seems kind of common for Game Boy Advance.
It really was, because like a lot of the Castlevania games in that, where it's like they had individual parts or individual sprites for certain body parts.
Yeah.
But the problem is like this game, it controls like crap. It's sluggish. It's really hard to do anything. Like I was getting just destroyed by the CPU because I couldn't get out of a punch. Like he would just punch me over and over and just grapple me. So
my one weakness. Punches.
Yeah, punches. I can't move or counter. I would say like if you're a kid and this is the only game you had, okay, maybe but this is not a good game. It's not fun.
Why don't you love me, Mom and Dad?
Yeah, and like it sounds good. Like the entrance music sounds kind of cool. It has like some of the ingredients for a cool game or a fun game, but it's just execution is just awful. So that's why I wanted to note that, because you mentioned there'd be a Game Boy Advance, and it's like no, it's also crap on the Game Boy Advance.
Okay, maybe we'll give it a shot in DS mode.
Yeah. The next one we'll kind of touch on is WWE WrestleMania 19. This was released a year after the X8 game on GameCube. This was a GameCube exclusive. It was again developed by Ukes and published by THQ. It was released in September 2003, so this was after WrestleMania 19.
This one I don't remember at all, even the cover.
This one I was completely out of wrestling at this point.
Yeah.
Like I hadn't watched it at all. Like my brother kind of did. I didn't play any of the games. So I keep saying X9 because I get X8, but 19. I played on an emulator. It's just like X8. Like it's an iterative game, right?
Oh, okay.
So it's nothing bad about it. It's just I didn't play it at the time, and it was what it was. The biggest addition here. Oh, by the way, I should mention the roster here is pretty huge. This one has almost 70 wrestlers.
Yeah, that was surprising when I read that.
Yeah, because a lot of games back then, or I should say from this era, like they're trying to scale up to getting that huge of a roster because a lot of games they don't start out that way. Like especially when they're on a new engine or whatever else. Like,
no, they're just trying to get the basics down.
Yeah, they're trying to get the basics and find their footing. So it makes sense. Like even then, like X8 had a pretty impressive roster of like 42, 43, pretty big. But just to have 70, that's a lot of freaking wrestlers.
Yeah,
a lot of them I don't recognize either. There's people like I think there's like Luke Haas or something like that. Like a lot of people I didn't really get. But I did have a lot of the big stars from this era, which in 2002 is like sort of the beginning of the ruthless aggression era of WWE, where they transitioned out of the Attitude Era, so things are still pretty risque and a little bit more adult or like older teenager, but they have like a developmental institution where they get sort of these new athletes and they sort of teach them and get them used to being a wrestler, and then they promote them to basically the main roster, which is like Raw and SmackDown. So this is the first game that had Randy Orton, Batista, John Cena, and Brock Lesnar, who are all at this point Hall of Famers.
They're the superstars. Like,
I mean, they're the super superstars, especially from this era. Like Batista's, has an acting career. Like he's a real well-known actor.
There's probably kids who only know him for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, John Cena. He's probably the biggest babyface wrestler WWE has had over the last 20, 30 years. Randy Orton, like I think he's nearing 50. Like he's had a career for the last 20 plus years. He
just made another comeback.
He's got like another prime. He looks incredible, and it's just And then and Brock Lesnar, who despite some recent controversy, like he had a huge rise to the top of WWE, and then UFC, and then pro football. He's had a pretty crazy career over the last 20 years himself. So this was like the first game that featured all those wrestlers, and that was like the beginning of a new era. So this game did have that for it. The other weird addition that I looked up that I don't remember playing back then was Revenge Mode.
Whoa.
This is like, it's a weird story. It's a story mode where the whole idea is that you're screwed over by Vince McMahon for firing you. So you're working with his daughter, Stephanie McMahon. And this game mode is kind of like a wrestling beat 'em up. You're all like on a construction site. You have to do certain objectives like, like pin all the construction men here. You're at a shipment barge, which is like owned by the WWE, and you have to destroy it or sink it. And there's also like this event mall where the WWE is having an event, and you have to disturb the piece there by pinning people for some reason. It's all
Cena, don't sign that autograph.
Yeah, it's all loosely connected by a story. And then at the end of the story, you're at WrestleMania 19, you beat and pin Vince, and then you get your contract, and then Stephanie McMahon presents it to you, and out of nowhere, Goldberg just spears her, and the screen cuts to black. I don't know what that's for or why.
Were they setting it up as a sequel, like a cliffhanger?
I don't know. Like it was the most puzzling thing. Because I looked it up after the fact. I looked up on YouTube recently. It's like, what? Because I read about it. And I looked up. It's like that's just what happens. Like Stephanie presents you with a contract. You don't trust her. All of a sudden, Goldberg spears her, and it cuts to black. It's like the most random thing ever. And then fun fact for this too, the background music in this game for your matches was also used in WWE Raw 2 for the Xbox, and Here Comes the Pain for PS2. So they recycled some assets on there, which I didn't think was a thing back then. I realized that they did that, but it was. Again, and this game's pretty inexpensive. You could probably find it under $20 and $30, I would imagine. And it's worthwhile. Again, like when you get into like the PS2 GameCube era, you can't really go wrong for the most part. I'd say in most games. Xbox, you can go wrong. And that's the next thing we're going to cover on our list, Deucy. This is Wrestlemania 21 for the Xbox. I was working Hollywood Video when this game released, and I remember this game coming out. I remember renting it and being insanely disappointed at what it was because the graphics in this game look really good. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the YouTube playthrough I put on there, but it looks incredible for an Xbox game. Unfortunately, everything else is just a huge miss. This was developed by Studio Gigante, who was started by Mortal Kombat and Midway veterans John Tobias and Joshua Sui, I think his name is. Sui. They only released a couple games on the Xbox. The first was another game that I played and ended up being crap, was Tao Feng Fist of the Lotus. This was a fighting game that had like this bone-breaking system. again, looked gorgeous. It just didn't play very good. And WrestleMania 21 was their second game for the Xbox, and this game was just freaking awful, Deucy. It was a sequel to WWE Raw 2, which was a pretty good improvement over the first game because they had WWE Raw 1 on there, which had a really limited roster, really limited arenas. It was just a super limited game because it was the first wrestling game on Xbox. 2 improved a lot of things like that, huge rosters, more game modes. And this game, despite, like those two games weren't by Studio Gigante, I don't think. But this game was just complete crap. It had a pro reversal system that didn't work. This is supposed to be like their way of like making the games, or actually making the matches more dynamic, where there's a little bit more tension and drama, but it doesn't work half the time. The collision detection is absolutely awful. And the worst, most egregious thing, and there's a couple of egregious things actually, I'll get to this. The first version of this game was released broken.
Of course.
So Microsoft sent an old version or an old dev build of WrestleMania 21 to the disc manufacturer.
Oh no!
And what happens when this game released, you could not get on Xbox Live at all. It just would not connect because you're playing on an old version and it was just completely broken. So eventually they did release a patch, which for 2005 is a pretty big thing for consoles because the only reason that it could have a patch on the Xbox was because it had a hard drive. This wasn't possible on GameCube or PS2, so thank goodness for the hard drive that you could have a patch.
Wait, was this out on those other ones?
No, it was not.
Okay.
This was an Xbox exclusive, so
Luckily.
that's the thing. Yeah, luckily.
Yeah.
So they did patch it, and then the Platinum Hits version, which I'm shocked that it even got a Platinum Hits version. I don't know how it got. I don't know what the threshold for selling for that is, right? But it's unbelievable that it got a Platinum Hits version, and now it is patched and fixed.
They just label Platinum Hits on anything these days.
They really, especially back then, I guess. And on top of that, it had a bunch of different game type modes. Like there was, like it had cage matches and a few other things. But you can only play them 1v1. This was a 2-player game. You could not do 1v3, 1v2, 2v2, no tag matches. What? Everything was 1v1 in this game.
Whose brilliant idea was that?
It was, and I feel like this had to be a game where they had to make it by the WrestleMania 21 deadline, like the actual event, because that was early 2005. And it seems like they were probably timing this, trying to get it close to that event. And it just released unfinished with whatever they could do.
It was released April 20th, so that was probably a little after.
A little bit after the event, yeah. And imagine it might have gotten delayed too. And it sucks because, again, like this game, it looks gorgeous. Like the presentation is really, really good. But that's all it is. It's just a visual showcase with no substance, and it has a pretty big roster as well. Like there's a lot of famous people in here. Again, there's like Batista, Booker T, Rob Van Dam, Bret Hart's a legend in here. Mankind is a legend because he stopped wrestling at this point. The Rock is a legend at this point because he was off doing movies. And there's people that I don't recognize, like I mentioned in the other game: Charlie Haas, Lance Cade, Rene Dupree, Shelton Benjamin, who's huge. I recognize him, and Eugene, who was. I don't know how I could put how his character was. He was a bit of a simpleton, is what I could say.
I
not
see.
Pretty stupid character.
He was
and pretty offensive these days.
Trying to win an award, huh?
Worst gimmick in the last 20 years. I put that up there. One cool feature this did have that I thought was really cool is that you did have a creator wrestler and you could put custom soundtracks for the entrance themes.
Oh yeah, that was one of my favorite parts of the Xbox.
That was one of the best features the Xbox had on any game that supported was custom soundtracks. Like I would burn my CDs, rip them on there. It was a process. You have to go through and rename them all because the renamed CDs didn't have metadata. I don't think you could do that back then. But that was a really cool feature. So. The best thing I say about this game is that they tried. They tried and they failed, unfortunately.
You showed up.
I would love for you to play this. I have the Xbox hooked up. I have to see if we can get it going. But I'd love for you to play it just to see what kind of a shit show it was.
Yeah.
It is not great.
We'll have fun, but for the wrong reasons.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a miss. And it sucks because, again, like you look at the game, like it looks like it should be a great time, and it's just awful. The Xbox had a hard time with wrestling games. That's what we'll say. And the last sort of main game we'll cover, because we're also going to cover a couple of showcases from the more recent games, but the last sort of main WrestleMania game we're going to cover was released in 2009. This was also developed by Yuke's, because basically Yuke's at this point is the WWE development company.
Oh, yeah.
They're releasing all the SmackDown games, releasing all the wrestling games. They've completely taken over WWE's licensed games.
Even under the 2K banner, aren't they still doing it?
Yeah. They're like, it's weird, like 2K owns Yuke's, or I don't know if it's like technically just published by 2K and Yuke's is doing it. But yeah, to this day, they're still doing their games, which is crazy that for the last 26 years, they've basically been doing wrestling games for WWE.
Well, that was like Tiburon did, I want to say, Madden for the longest time.
That's right. Yeah. That's a good comparison. Yeah. And this was also published by THQ, which again they were publishing it for the longest time until 2K. I guess they bought out THQ. Is that what would happen?
Yeah,
I forgot how that worked. Right. Yeah. So this game is specifically tailored around reliving WrestleMania moments, which is a really cool idea. The graphics in here, I love the graphical style of this because they look like those old LGN wrestling figures from the 80s.
Nice.
Which I found interesting that reviewers at the time didn't like it so much. They thought that it was too much. I was like, I feel like now if this was released now, they would love it. They would eat it up because like the nostalgia factor.
Yeah.
But back then, I think people weren't into the nostalgia yet.
No, PS3 360, they just wanted things more and more and more realistic.
Yeah, which ended up, there's always jokes about things being more brown and gray. Yeah. And this is not. This is the opposite. This is vibrant. The wrestlers look huge. I'd say this is a pretty gorgeous looking game for PS3 and 360. This differs a lot from the SmackDown games, though. This has a much more simplified control scheme, which I think actually works in its benefit. It has like a chain grapple system where, basically more successive grapples and moves you do, the stronger they get. So you almost level them up. So like if you do a basic chain grapple, it's like level 1. Then if you do enough, you get to like level 2, which means you can do more devastating moves, and level 3.
That kind of makes sense when you watch a match too.
It does. It's a build up to the pace of a match, right?
Yeah.
Like it makes perfect sense in that way, which the SmackDown games do as well, but those are definitely more like simulation. Like this is really just meant to be like a simplified thing that anyone could jump into, because I imagine it has a lot of like legendary wrestlers in here. Like there's gonna be older people who are like, they don't want to learn the controls of SmackDown.
Yeah.
So the main meat and potatoes of this game is the they call it here. They call it like the Path to WrestleMania, I think it was called. And you have different sort of instances where they have like different big matches from WrestleMania events up to WrestleMania 15. And I had played through this game all the way through. I got gold and everything because the idea here is every match you have a set of objectives, which would be a huge thing in the showcase games later on, where it's like you relive certain moments like, slamming Andre or like hitting Austin with a chair as Bret Hart. Those would tally up to your score, and you get gold, which would unlock, different, I think like attires or arenas, or just get like a better rating and also achievements. So it encouraged you to play through the events as they were at the original time, right?
Yep.
So it's like you do like your clotheslines with Hogan, or you run into Andre like 3 times at WrestleMania 3. You eventually slam him, do the leg drop, And I love that about it because it was really like reliving those moments. And they only had 7 matches, which I was surprised. I swear I played more back then. They were just playing a lot of exhibition matches. But the 7 they covered were Hulk Hogan versus King Kong Bundy at WrestleMania 2, which I would argue is not a great match, but they included it anyway.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan versus Andre at WrestleMania 3, which was a huge moment. Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6. Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter at WrestleMania 7. So again, Hulkamania was running wild up until like WrestleMania 9. So he was basically featured in every WrestleMania up until then. I think it's the first WrestleMania 4 he wasn't in, but he was in every WrestleMania pretty much since then.
They didn't have Macho Man in this?
They did not, because he was on the outs with WWE at the time. So he was not in any of their games, and not at this time at least. I think he didn't get into it to like All Stars, which is a couple years later. He was on the outs, unfortunately. And they also had Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13, which is my favorite match of all time. It's their submission match. And they had Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 14. And the final match they featured was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock at WrestleMania 15. So
was that their first one?
That was their first of the trilogy, yes. Because then they fought at 15, 17, and their final match at 19. So not a whole lot of variety, because really it's like the Hulk Hogan Stone Cold Steve Austin show, but it was a fun mode nonetheless.
You could see the torch being passed.
Exactly, yeah, right. So it's also at the time, it's like, a lot of legends, so to speak, weren't on good terms with the WWE, and also I think WWE was still focused on their main product, and this was, I think they started to realize people had nostalgia for things, and that's when, this game is a nostalgia piece is all it is, right?
Yeah.
It's based on wrestling matches of past. They did add some things that can add some variety, which is really cool. They have relive, rewrite, and redefine. So relive is you relive the match as it happens, with the winner as it was, and you rewrite where you play the opposite person and you win the match. That's
cool. That's interesting.
It's a really cool thing. Like, it doesn't add anything. Like, you don't get a special clip, because you can unlock a ton of archival footage in here, like story build-ups and moments from the actual match.
Nice.
But you don't get anything for rewriting it. And then one cool thing is redefine, where you play through these matches, but under different match stipulations, like a cage match or like a hardcore match or something. Like, it's just totally puts it on its head. So they did try to add a little bit of variety to it, but it just, there's not a lot to this game. Like, it's outside that WrestleMania mode, there's not a whole lot. Like, you can get a, I think there's like a limited create a wrestler mode, create a legend. The one big thing you can do here, which I didn't do at the time because I didn't own it because I wasn't getting SmackDown games, was if you had a SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 save file, you can unlock basically most of the male roster in this game. And it was from them, which is basically like the modern wrestlers, like CM Punk, Shelton Benjamin, a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
A young Cody Rhodes, which is really fun.
Whoa.
And they have their movesets from SmackDown sort of transformed to Legends of WrestleMania grapple system. So they all have unique movesets based on their SmackDown versus Raw 2009 moveset. So that's a cool little bonus you could have in here. But really, at the end of the day, like, this game isn't as robust as a SmackDown is. But likely, it's like, if you're getting this, you're either a fan of SmackDown already, or you're just a fan of what you're getting in this game. Mm-hmm. I would recommend this one. This one's only like $20. It's a really fun time. There's a lot of nostalgia in it. But the downside is, like, it's just not as robust, especially as what we're going to talk about next, which is one of my favorite modes.
I was going to say, like, it feels like this was good at the time, but then...
It's a precursor to what we would see later.
Yeah, these next couple things come out, and they don't have guys on the outs, so you really do get to see a lot more of the historical moments.
Oh, yeah. So like we said, the Legends of WrestleMania is the last sort of main game we'll cover. The next two things we're going to cover are some really awesome modes in the more modern games. So... the first one we want to talk about was from WWE 2K14. This is the 30 Years of WrestleMania Showcase. So that on its own is a pretty insane milestone to have 30 years of WrestleMania that's been going that long. But my God, like, I forgot how blown out this mode was because I played the hell out of it back then. This is when I got back in the SmackDown games because I really enjoyed them. And then they got really, really good with 2K13. That was the first one I got because of the Monday Night Wars showcase.
That one, I can't remember if I played that one much. I might have seen Mike play that one, but this was the one that got me definitely back into wrestling 100%, games.
100%, yeah. Like, I had gotten into 2006, 2007, I liked those, and I stopped for a while. And then 13 is when I started to pick them up again. And this one has The Rock on the cover. And again, it's a celebration of 30 years of WrestleMania. And this is probably the best they've done for a showcase. I'd say, like, I mean, there's been good showcase modes since, like, the WWE 2K games now, they always have some sort of showcase. We use showcase as, like, a general thing, but it usually focuses on someone's career, like, from their rookies until whatever else.
Yeah, I think they had Stone Cold right after
this.
They
had Stone Cold in, 2K16. I don't know, what was 2K? I don't know what was 2K15. I didn't even play that one.
Yeah.
Stone Cold was the focus of 2K16. So they always have some awesome mode where it relives a certain event in WWE history or a certain career. There's usually interviews, clips to support it, and you get to relive the matches as they were, including, like, down the objectives. So it took a lot from Legends of WrestleMania. But 2K14 had 47 matches in this showcase mode. I forgot there were 30 WrestleManias. Yeah, for only 30 WrestleManias. So this covers every era of WWE. So there's, we'll go through them here. We won't go through every single match. We'll call it some highlights because there's a lot that I put on here alone. But they have 11 matches from the Hulkamania Runs Wild era, which is basically WrestleMania 1 through 9.
Wow.
And they have 7 matches from the New Generation era. This is really when Hulk Hogan, like, all those, heavily roided out wrestlers, like the big muscularized kind of were transitioning out. Like, they're considered fossils. And Vince McMahon is focusing on younger talent, like more technical wrestling. So that's considered the New Generation era.
This era has what I expected to be in the last game, but they were probably on the outs, was Razor and HBK, the ladder match.
Oh, yeah, exactly, yeah. and that one is in 2K24, which we'll talk about.
Oh, nice.
It is nice, yeah. So this one, so they had the New Generation era, which was really WrestleMania 10 through WrestleMania 13.
In fact, I think that was the match I got stuck on, and I didn't get much past that one.
See, the thing with these is, like, I made sure I got through all the objectives because I was just that steadfast on it. Like, some were really annoying to do, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they also have the Attitude Era. They have 4 matches from there, which is WrestleMania 14 through WrestleMania X7, which is interesting because WrestleMania X7 is widely considered sort of the end or beginning of the end of the Attitude Era because that's when Stone Cold became a bad guy and sided with Vince McMahon. Then they had the Ruthless Aggression Era that we talked about earlier. This is WrestleMania X8 through WrestleMania 24. And then the current era, which is considered the Universe Era. And at this time with 2K14, it was from WrestleMania 25 to WrestleMania 29 because WrestleMania 30 hadn't happened yet. So there's a lot of matches in here, and there's a lot of highlights that I listed just alone. This isn't even like the bulk of it. Like, there's a lot. They include the WrestleMania 3 match, of course, with Andre and Hogan, and then this is where you could play as Randy Savage versus Steamboat, which is like the best match of that event. That isn't like the spectacle, right? They had the WrestleMania. They had a WrestleMania 1 match, which was fun. It was Andre versus Big John Studd. Like I think it was like whoever could like a buy sign match.
If I remember right, the presentation was kind of set up like the era.
It was
like it was old 80s.
They had a filter over it.
Yeah,
it looked really freaking cool. I think Howard Finkel might have announced some things. This was like the ultimate celebration of WrestleMania, I would say.
This was back when 2K was really known for their presentations and everything. Because I really got into NBA 2K because of the same thing. They had these classic matchups, and it would look like how basketball was presented back in the day.
And we could trace that all the way back to, what's widely considered the best football game ever, and people still love it. NFL 2K5, which I play as someone who doesn't watch football. I only play the football games.
Yeah.
I was blown away even by that, like the ESPN presentation they did with like the TV transitions and like the commentators.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2K's presentation was rooted from that, and they've only gotten better since then. They're still doing it now. Like outside of the microtransaction BS,
I've also
the
noticed
presentation is still top tier.
Some of the recent NBA 2K games have gotten a little lax on it. It's a little bit repetitive, or they've taken some things out, but it's still better than like what Madden's been doing.
Yeah, they definitely have a formula, because even the WWE games, you could see how they had like a similar menu presentation. UI is just there's a skin of WWE all over it.
Yeah,
right. And some of the virtual currencies still exist. But 2K14 at the time, like I think this was definitely before. I don't think it had any MTX at this point. I think it was just a game.
Yeah, that's why you could get so much.
Yeah.
Now a lot of these matches would have been like add-ons.
There would have been DLC packs in the season pass. Yeah. So this, did you beat this back then? Like how far did you get in the showcase back then? Because this, I was shocked there was 47.
I don't think I made it to the Attitude Era.
You didn't even get to it.
I got
stuck.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. So this. I actually need to find another copy of this, because I think I traded mine away at some point.
Ooh, yeah.
But I would really like to just revisit the showcase mode just for fun. But it is like, if you wanted the ultimate celebration of WrestleMania up until 30, actually I would say like just in general, like I'd say this as far as match content is better than the 2K24 showcase, which
that makes sense because of microtransactions.
Exactly. But just on the variety alone, there's so much to do. So I would say seek out 2K14 if you have an Xbox 360 to play it, or PS3. Because none of these games are backwards compatible. You can't play any of them, which makes sense. They're not going to go back. It's unfortunate, but they're not going to go back and do that, because it's like, well, I could play 2K14 and not buy 2K24, right? Yeah. Even though 2K24, the grapple system is obviously considerably better. But, this mode specifically is better on 2K14. Definitely seek it out. It's a great mode. If you want everything about WrestleMania, this is it. And the last thing we'll cover is the most recent. Deucy, I know you haven't gotten to this yet, but I've gone through like 99% of it, and this is the showcase of the Immortals on WWE 2K24.
Yeah, this one released at an inopportune time, because I think I had just gotten the PS5.
You did, because it was first week of March.
Yep.
Yeah, and you just got it then, right?
I was like, ooh, something shiny over here.
Yeah, exactly. Something console-like and Spidey. Yeah. So this game, I've been really enjoying it, because 2K22 and 23 we really did enjoy. Like that's really when 2K found their footing again, because WWE 2K20 was such a disaster. It was just released in a poor state and never could recover. They took 2021 off to basically recalibrate themselves, and they knocked it out of the park. I think this is the best the series has been in a long time, just in terms of modes, customization, and everything else. I still think the showcase mode is a little lacking. So this mode is really cool. It's still really fun. Like you're gonna have a great time. I'm just being kind of nitpicky about things, but
compared to the one you just talked about.
Exactly. Compared to the 2K14, I was just like kind of staggered. I was like, oh my god, like there's so much more than the last one. But this one has 21 matches in total. This one has it's a little bit more spread out. It covers from WrestleMania 3. And it's interesting because they didn't do Hogan and Andre for this. They covered Macho Man versus... Oh, no, they did do Hogan and Andre. I'm sorry. They did Hogan and Andre and then Steamboat and Savage. They covered WrestleMania 5 for the first time. So there's Rick Rude versus Warrior and then Hogan versus Savage.
Ooh.
So they did try to get matches that you wouldn't see, so often in the other games. And there's, the iconic matches as well. There's Razor versus Shawn Michaels in the ladder match. There's Austin versus Brett for the submission match from WrestleMania 13. There's Eddie Guerrero versus Angle at WrestleMania 20.
Only one of the Austin versus Rock.
Only the one Austin Rock, yeah.
Which I
X7.
think that one I like the most. That
was
their second one.
Yeah, and that was also probably the most known of the three because of the heel turn with Austin.
Yeah.
Because WrestleMania 19 is when Austin retired. So that's, I think that was in his 2K16 showcase, but I guess they didn't want to show that here for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And they have matches like, there's Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker WrestleMania 25, which I prefer out of their two matches. 2K14, interestingly enough, only had the WrestleMania 26 match where Shawn Michaels retired at the end.
Oh,
but they didn't have 25, which a lot of people are split on. But a lot of people say that 25 match was better. And then also it's cool because this is the first showcase or WrestleMania showcase to feature female wrestlers. So they had WrestleMania 35 with Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair, and they also had WrestleMania 39 matches.
Was that one? That was the first time the women were a main event.
I think that might have been, or they were close to main event. I don't know if they main evented then. I don't remember. I don't know if I was really watching it. I'd seen that. I can't remember it much though because it was like 5 years ago. And there's also what else there was on there? Oh, WrestleMania 39. They actually covered WrestleMania 39, which happened last year. So they had Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte for the women's title, Bianca Belair versus Asuka, and Roman versus Cody for Cody not finishing his story. So they have that. Wow. It's really funny when you do finish that match. There's like a breaking the fourth wall kind of moment where they talk to Cody Rhodes, and it's like, why would you show that match where I lose? And they have like 2K producer guys said like, no, like you're finishing your story. Like we had to show it. Like how can we show your story ending if we didn't put the end of the failure of your story? So it's kind of fun they added that in there. And one fun thing about here that's interesting is that Brock Lesnar, he's gotten in some controversy lately with Vince McMahon, who's a parasite. Oh, yes. We'll say you could Google as to why he's a parasite and why he's controversial right now. But Brock Lesnar was apparently involved in some of the things with Vince McMahon. And he's not playable in 2K24. He was. And right before it came out, they removed him. Oh, wow. But the only way you could play as him is in the showcase mode with 2 matches against The Undertaker, and I think there's a match with Roman Reigns. So that's the only instance you can play as Brock Lesnar. I'm sure people have created him, but it's interesting that they took him out. Vince McMahon is even blurred from the videos in the showcase. Whoa. Nice. Like, the guy who, he used to own the company. He was basically booted out for good reason. But he's blurred in there, and there's also, I think, I want to say Donald Trump is in one of the WrestleMania audiences. I forgot one of the early ones. I don't know if it was WrestleMania 2 or 3 or whatever. And I think they blur him in the back. I think that's the one. He's like in front row. And I think he's blurred. I think that's the only person that's there. I can't tell who else it was. It's a great, overall, it's a great mode. The only thing I will say is that it's really difficult and unfair sometimes because even on medium or easy, like the AI can just go crazy on you.
Well, that was my issue with 2K14.
Yeah, it's been a problem with all the showcase games where you're trying to finish these objectives, which some could be kind of extensive, like do so much damage or
do a specific move like area.
Yeah, those are the worst where it's asks you to do a specific move off like the apron or something, and you can't get the AI to do it because they're either beating you or he just won't let you throw them out there.
Just lay down and let me do this.
Yeah, so I did beat the showcase mode except for the last final bonus showcase mode, which it's stupid. This is WrestleMania, and then the final match is you doing a 30-person Royal Rumble really hard. And then the only thing you get is an achievement and like 2 My Faction cards, which is like the card game they have for that other mode they got.
Oh, yeah, that I've never touched.
But it's just cheap and not fun. Like I like doing the My Faction thing, but Showcase shouldn't be this difficult. I understand it's like an Immortals thing they got going, but it's different when it's just not fun. So I haven't beaten it yet because I've gotten to the end. I got to like when there's like 3 or 4 wrestlers left, and then of course I got thrown out for no reason at all. Yeah. And that's like 15, 20 minutes of what I just did done after I've tried to not get eliminated and everything. So this showcase mode, like, it's the newest one you could play. It's worth it. If you're a wrestling fan, it's absolutely worth it. It's just there's some caveats that are just, again, like me nitpicking about it. Deucy, I think you'll have the same frustrations with it that I did, even more so, because it is pretty stupid when you get those objectives where it's like, you just want to finish them, and the AI is just doing everything it can to not do it. Like, it knows you're trying to throw them outside or get them in a position in the corner.
Every showcase I've played has always had a moment where it just ramps up. Even if I haven't changed the difficulty, it just ramps up.
It's
and I'm
really
like,
stupid.
Damn it, I'm stuck again.
It doesn't make sense. Like this mode, like, let everyone experience it, but make it like easy mode actually easy. Yeah. I even turned it down. It wasn't that much easier. I don't know what's easier about it.
There's games out there with a story mode difficulty, and this is what we want to experience is the story.
Yeah. It's like I don't want to actually be Cody not finishing a story with most of the matches here.
Yeah.
So it's a great game. I would say overall, definitely pick it up if you're interested. It's it goes on sale pretty often. I would say it won't for a while because it's like prime WrestleMania season right now.
Oh yeah, but
it's the best wrestling game you could play right now. I would say I don't think there's anything else that really comes close to it, especially as far as production. Like there's some of the graphics. Like I was playing the ladder match with Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels, and it looked incredible in the arena. Like it looks so freaking good. Like the fidelity, like we went through like 35 years of wrestling games. The fidelity of going from like the Nintendo WrestleMania games to 2K24, my god, like it's just mind blowing to me. So I know you haven't played this yet, Deucy, but I'm sure we'll play it online whenever you do get it because it's always a great time. Like multiplayer on this is,
we got to get the other guys to play it, and
We will
have our fatal 4-ways.
And the showcase mode, it's worth playing through. You do get a bunch of unlockables. It just could be really, really frustrating. All right, Deucy. So we made it to the end of our story with Wrestlemania. Anything you want to add or talk about as far as Wrestlemania? Any memories or any lasting impressions of the games we played?
Wow, I can't think of anything that we haven't really covered. Like
we've done a lot. I mean, I feel like I've been going on for like a while.
Yeah, we've also got a brief history of the WWE itself.
Yeah, we you know us, like you, me, Mike, Rain, all of us. We could talk about wrestling for a while, and we'll have those things where like one loose thread will end up being a whole nother conversation. It's a lot of fun for us. But again, like the games that above all else are the most fun we have. Like some of the best multiplayer experiences we've had are with these games.
I'm looking forward to the upcoming WrestleMania and getting together with everybody.
That's true. I can't wait for that. It's it's 2 weeks from this recording, actually, because we're recording right before Easter, and WrestleMania is going to be on April 6th, I believe. 7th, that weekend of the 6th.
Yeah.
So we're waiting and hoping to see Cody finish his story, and
hopefully the weather holds off so we can barbecue.
I hope so. We get to we love the pageantry of WrestleMania. It's always a great time to kick back and barbecue and watch it. So for everyone else out there, please enjoy your WrestleMania weekends. Go play some WrestleMania games. Do you see any lasting words for our friends before we take them out for the counts?
1, 2, 3. It's over.
Thanks, everyone.